Hey guys, good afternoon, good midday, wherever you're watching from. Just a random throughout the week episode that I'm going to be throwing at you guys this week. I'm currently getting ready to start filming my Creepy Kitchen episode of the week. I'm running a little late, but that's okay. It'll get done before Friday and you guys will have a fresh episode. Because I didn't do anything that I was supposed to do this weekend, it was fine. It was fine that I didn't do anything that I'm having to do it now because I got to spend some time with the boyfriend and I found some really cool stuff that I ended up wanting to talk about today. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I didn't know if I wanted to pre-record it and do it as like a much deeper episode or if I just wanted to do like a quick midday one. So obviously I decided to do the quick midday one just because I was that excited about doing it. We went to, we have we have the last Woolworths in the United States here in Bakersfield, California, and they're actually going to be closing November of this year. So since Dick Richardson has only been to Woolworths one time, and I've been going there since I was a teenager, I wish my neighbor's dog would shut up. Anyway, we decided to go before they closed. And I found some really, really, really cool stuff that I just had to share with you guys and not just in photo form like I did over the weekend. Hey, Gregory, thanks for joining. You're just in for the treats I found this weekend. The first one I wanted to show off, I posted it in photo form. But I was super excited to find this because I don't know how rare these are. Not that I care whether or not it's rare, but it was just such a random, really cool horror-related find. And my guy keeps yelling at me because I've taken it out of the plastic toys. He's like, you're going to get the oils on it and ruin it, but whatever. I actually found a Boris Karloff Life magazine from 1968. Isn't that fucking cool? That is so cool. And it was originally mailed to somebody here in Bakersfield because the mailing label is still on the side. It was ripped off, but the zip code. So I know where the zip code is here in town. I haven't really opened it yet, but oh, it's so cool. There's little dots and advertisements in here. And Life magazine is not this big anymore. Magazines are not this big, and they're not 35 cents an issue anymore at that either. So magazines have come up a long way since 1968. But I just thought this was the coolest thing ever, and there was obviously only one. And I got it at a really good deal because a lot of the vendors there, they're just trying to get rid of all the stuff that they have because they only have till November 6th to get out of the Woolworths. And either find another location or just be completely done, in the whole antiquing game. I got these things from the same vendor, and I'm going to go back later this week and get some more. I'm a big fan of music, all different kinds of music, but I love metal music and rock music and just different types of rock music in the genre itself. And she had a big crate, and her name was Jo too, so that was really cool. She had a big crate of these comic books, and I do collect comics. I'm not a comic book buff, but I do very much appreciate the artwork that is in comic books. So I do have quite a few. I have like a lot of the Night of the Living Dead ones, just random different ones. And I found this crate that she had. I've never heard it. I didn't really get in depth on this one, but they were all like rock and metal related comic books, which I did not know was a thing really. I know Kiss was in some comic books like way back in the day, like in the Howard the Duck ones. I think that was like the first one they were ever in was like the Howard the Duck ones. But this one is by Celebrity Comics. I didn't look into this one too much, but I thought this was really cool and I love Metallica. So I got that one. And then she had more of these by Revolutionary Comics, and it's called Rock and Roll Comics. And this one Dick Richardson got, which was the one with the Terminator, and it had Guns N' Roses on it. And I guess they did a couple. Sorry about the light, guys. They had a couple with Guns N' Roses on it, but that one was really cool. He got that one, and then this one I just absolutely had to get because he still tours. He goes to conventions, and I grew up with Alice Cooper. So I thought this one was super, super dope. So I got the Alice Cooper one from Rock and Roll Comics. There's some other ones there that I want to go back this week and get. It's just she had so many of them, and the price they were at, I was going to have hundreds and hundreds of dollars just to buy the crate from her. Yeah, so I really, really was interested in these comics because, like I said, I'd never heard of this before. I never heard of, like, you know, rock and metal comic books before. So it got me super, my ADHD kicked in and I became hyper fixated on this. Let's see. You know, my Fry Mark drummer from the Toadies has his own. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Totally. I love the Toadies. Toadies are fucking dope. But yeah, I got super fixated on this, and then I started like researching this a little bit, and then I started finding some really, really like interesting shit about the creator of these comic books from Revolutionary Comics and the Rock and Roll Comics themselves. And I was like, I have to share this. This is like totally up my alley. It's totally cool. So I'm going to get into a little bit of the creator and a little bit of what the comic book's about, and then the stuff that I found that's associated with it that is super interesting. So let's get into it a little bit. So Todd Loren is the creator of Rock and Roll Comics. Revolutionary Comics is like the main hub for Rock and Roll Comics, because I think he had a few other kind of comic book series that were in that as well. So yeah, so basically it was published by Revolutionary Comics, which was his also. And it was from 1989 and 1993. And these were all basically unauthorized and unlicensed comic books based off of artists at the time. A lot of rock artists. There were some more, they got into some contemporary artists. I think he did one on like Paula Abdul. There were some for New Kids on the Block. There was just a bunch of them. And I think there was only, I want to say that like 64 or 65 comic books that were published between this time of 1989 and 1993. And he had like a lot of lawsuits. Not a lot. He had some lawsuits that came against him for making these comics because like, for example, like the New Kids on the Block, they tried putting a lawsuit against him because they, you know, it used their logo and he was making money off of them. And Todd Loren was basically like, hey, you know, like these are kind of like basically like true events or true stories, but I'm putting them in comic book form. So making them a little funny and a little silly at the same time. And basically it's like he started using like the whole free speech card, basically. And I'm paraphrasing when I say this, but he said something like, you know, Sports Illustrated and these other magazines, you know, they don't have to pay money to tell the stories or use photos of these celebrities. So why do I? Because I'm not really doing anything much different. I'm just adding them in comic book form. So I get what he was saying, and I don't think really there was anything wrong with what he was doing. But Todd Loren was born Stuart Loren Shapiro in Detroit, Michigan, and he worked at comic conventions until the late 80s before moving to San Diego, California, where he started Revolutionary Comics and then began doing the Rock and Roll Comics. Hey, Sean, thanks for joining. And then this comic book series, it ended up getting like super popular down in like the Southern California area. Like it was pretty much keeping up at the same pace almost as other popular comic books at the time. And sorry, because I jumped ahead of myself. And like I said earlier, like some artists were like not for it and they tried suing him. Some actually really embraced it, like Alice Cooper. He thought it was really cool. Guns N' Roses was not cool with it, but you know, Guns N' Roses are a bunch of douchebags. I like their music, but you know, Axl Rose is a fucking douchebag. And two Hoosers. So yeah, Loren's private life was only known by very few people. And it was usually the people who were the closest to him, which is fine. You know, you keep your private life to yourself. But in 1992, at the age of 32, he was actually discovered murdered in his home. He was stabbed 15 times in his bed. Crazy, right? Very young, very sad. He was just kind of like really getting at like the height of his comic career in all of this shit. And it was weird because the front door to his home was locked. There wasn't, somebody didn't raid or ransack his house and steal a bunch of shit. The only thing that was taken was his car. And his car was found a little while later, a ways away. I believe the keys were in the car. His murderer is still unknown to this day, but the FBI highly speculate through their investigations that serial spree killer Andrew Cunanan was actually the murderer. And because both men were known in the San Diego gay social circle at the time, because back then it wasn't really that like you came out as a homosexual, because of the way people thought about that shit back then, which was stupid, but it is what it is. And we're pretty much almost completely past that at this point. But Todd Loren, he frequented those, those clubs. So he was associated with people in that circle. And so did Andrew Cunanan. And right before Todd's murder, he had actually started talking to a bunch of people who were close to him and knew about his life. He started describing a man that fit Andrew's description. Kind of weird, right? And so it is speculated that because this happened in 1992 and Andrew Cuhanan's little serial murder spree, because a spree is in a short period of time. So it has been debated, like, is he a spree killer or is he a serial killer? Well, he was kind of both. But more so a spree killer than a serial killer. But it is what it is. So they actually think that because that murder happened in 1992, and then all his spree killings didn't happen until 1997, but there was so much that just made sense and went together and just fit. They really think that Andrew Cunanan made Todd his first victim, if you will. So who's Andrew Cunanan? And if I'm saying it wrong, I don't care, because that dude's a piece of shit. Andrew Cunanan was born in 1969 in National City, California. At an early age, Andrew was known by friends and family as he was a pathological liar. He lied about his life. He lied about his family. He would just lie about all kinds of shit. In his high school yearbook, he was actually named as least likely to be forgotten. And I don't think those kids knew exactly how accurate that shit was going to be. So yeah, Andrew Cunanan actually came out in high school as being a homosexual and started relationships with older, wealthy men. Keep that in mind. Older, wealthy men. And he started going to after high school, he started going to the University of California in San Diego. And then his dad ended up abandoning the family and went back to the Philippines because he was involved with some kind of embezzling scheme or whatever. I don't know. I didn't get into that part. But that's what Wikipedia tells me. And then his mother was super, super religious. And when she found out, he actually attacked her. He threw her against the wall and dislocated her shoulder. And after everything had happened and the FBI was looking into his murder spree and things that were happening in his life, they actually thought that he might have been he had antisocial personality disorder because he had the lack of remorse and empathy for other people. And so from April of 1997 to July of 1997, he began a spree of murders. It was, normally with older, wealthy men that he had met at these gay clubs that he was going to. He ended up killing a total of 5 men, not including Todd, because they have not been able to connect that 100%. It's just highly, highly speculated, even by the FBI. But his last victim, which is super, super whoa, what the hell, was actually 50-year-old Versace, the Italian fashion designer, that he had only met twice, but he made this big deal that, they were best friends, that they were possibly lovers and all this other stuff. But then again, going back, like I said earlier, even people in high school are saying he was known to be like a pathological liar. Like this guy just lied just about anything. So 8 days after he had murdered Versace on the steps outside of his home, his body was found on a luxury boat in Miami Beach after a caretaker reported hearing a gunshot to the police. Andrew had killed himself with a gun that he had stolen from his recorded first victim, and that weapon was actually used in all of the murders that he committed. So yeah, I think that's kind of nuts. I think that's kind of crazy. I think it's super fascinating that the guy who created these very controversial, in a sense, comic books could have actually been murdered by a serial killer or a spree killer, whatever the hell you want to call him. But these are freaking dope on top of that too. I mean, but I did not expect to learn any of this from just buying comic books at an antique store. Totally fucking trippy. But I wanted to share this, guys. I wanted to share this so bad with you guys, because for you guys who have been following me for a long time, you guys know that I absolutely love true crime, as well as horror, and as well as rock and metal music. And a lot of this show is horror and metal, as well as, me doing my other show called The Devil Made Me Do It podcast with my friend Dizzy every Saturday morning. And it was like my worlds just collided with this little trip that I took this weekend with Dick Richardson. And I just had to fucking share it. I thought this was crazy. Like I said, I never expected to come across something like this. Thank you, ADHD, for hyperfixation and wanting to know about what the hell these random comic books were that I just had to get into all of a sudden. But yeah, that's crazy. It's kind of sad at the same time, because, somebody who was so talented and really wanted to push the label in a sense, or push the envelope in a sense, had a very short life. 32 is not that old. It's not that old at all. 40 is not that old at all. And it's, would have liked to have seen what could have come out of, these comic books, even though they were liked by some and totally disliked to the point of lawsuit by others. So yeah, I can't believe I found that. Isn't that fucking weird? That was weird. But yeah, going back real quick to the Andrew Cunanan guy, I guess one of the other reasons why they figured that it was him, according to the FBI, was because Andrew was actually known to steal the victims' cars and their house keys or whatever and take off with them, as well as the front door was locked and nothing was ransacked. So they were like, he had to have known this guy. This guy had to have been in his house. But it actually kind of got chalked up to, they didn't care because it was, a homosexual lover's murder or whatever, which was that's really fucking stupid. A human life is a human life. It doesn't matter what the hell it is that you've got going on in your own bedroom. It really doesn't. Unless you're into some really deep sadistic crap with children, then you deserve to burn in hell. But that's another story for another day. So, hey Leo, it's going great. How are you doing today? I'm kind of getting ready to wrap it up here in a minute. I had some stuff I had to share. I had some really cool finds this weekend that I had to share that ended up not being what I thought it was going to be. But yeah, so if you guys have never heard of Rock and Roll Comics by Revolutionary Comics, you should go check that out and read up on the story of Todd Lauren, and then read or watch some stuff on Andrew Cunanan, and you might see some of the connections as well. I honestly, after everything I just did since Saturday night, all of the research I did, I absolutely believe that this is probably who did this to this poor guy. He did not deserve that at all. But yeah, that's my ramble for the past 20 minutes almost. So I'm going to get up out of here in a second because I got to start my episode for Creepy Kitchen. You guys wait for that for Friday night. And tonight I do have an episode that's going to be airing at 7 o'clock. It is an interview with Tara Rule from the upcoming horror psychological thriller that is actually based on true crime, a really horrific crime at that, that is still kind of unsolved in who that killer was as well. Weird. And it's called Ourselves. You can check that out tonight at 7, like the time I usually try to run, not, noonish or 30 here in California, like I've been randomly doing. Other than that, you guys make sure you like, follow, subscribe on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm also on Twitch. I have a Patreon page as well if you guys would be so inclined to be a supporter over there. Usually I have, I put my videos out there, my pre-records there before the rest of the world gets to see it. Like ourselves actually came out on Patreon Friday. So if you're a Patreon supporter, you actually saw this like days ago and you don't have to watch it tonight. As well as like just random things that I like to put out there, some behind the scenes stuff, some photos, things that I get, things that I'm doing, exclusive stuff, basically exclusive stuff. As well as every couple months, if you're a supporter, you get like little presents here and there from Patreon. That's, like official merch of mine. And, yeah. And if you're a Patreon supporter, I actually have Halloween gifts that are coming out in October. So they're going to be really cool. I'm excited to give them. I'm that person where I can't hold on to presents very long. So this is really killing me. No pun intended for today's story. So John, yeah, I'm sorry, dude. You're kind of late for the party because it was just a short episode today. It's just a short random episode that I wanted to share. So I apologize. You can go back on the back button though. Or you can go on YouTube and rewatch it, I guess. So just me rambling about comic books related to a murder that I found over the weekend. So fun stuff. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to get to this Creepy Kitchen episode that's going to be coming out Friday. And I hope you guys have a great day wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. And I hope you have nightmares about me. So, bye guys.